All right. So I'm here today with Patricia. Patricia started the Feel Great system last summer. How many months has it been all total?
About 10 months.
About 10 months. So Patricia's on here today because she has a very unique story, and I really wanted to share it with everyone. She only had 5 or 10 pounds to lose, and she'd actually been utilized the program or the tools before in time, and she was she was persistent and she was patient, and she now has an amazing story. So I'm going to let you tell that real quick version of your story right now, Patricia.
Yes, thank you. So when I came across the system again, I really was hoping for about 10 pounds of weight loss, even though I know all the science behind it is that it doesn't necessarily need to be about the numbers on the scale. And I did get frustrated in the first several weeks. I thought, where's the weight loss? But I was sleeping better. I was feeling more centered because my gut wasn't so out of balance. My allergies reduced, even though I don't have a lot of allergies anyway. And I knew that was proving to me that I was getting that rock solid gut. And eventually the weight did start coming off and coming off and coming off. And it came off so much that I was hoping for just 10 pounds down, but it came off 15 and then it went about 18. And I was looking in the mirror. I thought, this is a little too much. So I've actually had to scale back, and I've been maintaining this at about a 15-pound loss, which brings me down smaller than I was in high school. And I'm thrilled to death, especially with all the other benefits that have come from it. It's been an amazing journey with all the different health products and systems and supplements that I have done over the years. This is in a class of its own. I mean, this is truly on the edge of miraculous. It seems like an unfair advantage given all when you compare it to what else is out there.
So I agree with that. I'm going to grab a photo here of Patricia before and after, because I want people to understand that you don't have to have 50, 60 pounds to lose. You don't have to have some terrible diagnoses to have the system work for you. In fact, I believe that just about everybody on the planet today can use the system for this. This on the left is Patricia before, and she was at 153 pounds, as you see. And like, I knew you before and never thought that you were overweight. You were kind of uncomfortable with your weight, but now that I see these pictures, I'm like, holy smokes, what a change it's been for you. And the fact that you've actually had to up your intake of food now because you had lost so much. And I'm going to let you tell me, because Patricia has a big background in nutrition. She wrote a children's book on nutrition. She's very knowledgeable. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Patricia, and let you explain why you feel this happened for you over this amount of time.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Um, like I said, I was focused on the weight loss, even though I know I shouldn't have been, because when you live in a state for a certain length of time, you just think, okay, well, this is pretty good health, right? Certainly compared to others around me, I didn't get sick very often. I could fit in my clothes and was wearing about a size 8, squeezing in an 8, maybe some 6s, and just had resigned myself to, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get down much lower, because I was eating very clean and doing cleanses and eating a lot of fish and healthy food. And of course, as you mentioned, I published a children's book 10 years ago about healthy eating, because I think I want to get children programmed to do that when they're younger, so that they can be in good habits by the time that their brain changes and they are operating on autopilot. And the the thing about this system this time around was a lot of the people that I saw in the community, the online community, which was really cool to be able to go in there and see everybody else asking questions and talking about their successes. There were definitely some people in there that looked like me. They were healthy and they had lost some weight and had other great success. And in those first several months, when I wasn't seeing huge numbers change on the scale, I was feeling a difference in me, just my beingness. And as I talk about a lot, we have a certain amount of energy, and it's neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. And if your energy is going to inflammation, blood sugar out of control every now and then, not sleeping as well as you should, all those things, and mental fog. Those are the things which, praise God, our bodies are made and designed to do that for us at the default level. But when the energy's drained to all those emergency pieces from the start, you just don't have the mental clarity left. You don't have the energy left to make a decision on where to put your energy. And that's one of the biggest changes that I have seen, you know, as the weight began to come off, and I thought, wow, this is really working. I can't believe this is amazing. This is so easy, and I get to eat the foods that I want to eat. And yet with my gut in better control now, I eat less, I make even better decisions, and there's a structure to it. I enjoy the fact that I don't have cravings for things that I know I shouldn't be eating. And I'm never worried about eating the whole thing. If I wanted to, I could, but I don't really want to. And that's, I feel, a real testament to the way that it reestablishes your gut flora and gets you that rock solid gut that we all want to, for our immune systems these days, now more than ever. And just because of allergies, and if you do have something like Hashimoto's or PCOS, something that's related to the immune system, being able to get that rock solid gut where you're not as susceptible to allergens is absolutely key.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I talk on my channel a lot about Hashimoto's and PCOS, and I link it a lot to insulin resistance. And it's not just the blood sugar level, the insulin level that is linking for me with PCOS and Hashimoto's. It does come down to the gut. And so Hashimoto's, in a number of studies that I've read, they talk about that inflammation in the gut and that it leaches out into the body. And if you think about your gut being the largest organ in your body, and when it's unhealthy or inflamed, it's going to affect all of your other organs. And so when we think about the cavity where our primary functioning organs are, they're all in that one capsule in our chest and belly, primarily, outside of our brain, but they're all there. So when the gut is unhealthy or inflamed, it has direct access to all these other things. And when it's like anything else. If you have a sick child and they're near you, you're likely to get sick. That's what's happening in most of our bodies. And anyway, some of these studies talked about Hashimoto's being an inflammatory response. And most autoimmune diseases, what I'm learning from other scientists, metabolic specialists, is they're now surmising that most autoimmune, if not most disorders that we have today that are lifestyle related, link back to insulin resistance. And that if we treat the root cause of insulin resistance, which goes back to gut flora and gut inflammation, I'll let you tie that in here in a second, but if we can address those causes and the gut, then we can address a lot of these disorders at the root. So
Yeah, I would say that this next thing I'm about to mention, I don't know that I've talked with you about it, but I've definitely been telling others. One of the reasons that I think that this system is working so well for me is that I have eaten a lot of fish in my life. And most people know that there's heavy metal toxicity in fish. I'm a highly sensitive person, and toxicity of any type is really bad for me. And you can't see what's in that fish before you consume it. I love poke, which is sushi, basically raw fish. And I live in Houston, one of the biggest metropolitan cities. Our water quality is decent, but it's not stellar. I'm sure we've got some heavy metals in our water. I don't eat barbecue, but if you're a person who eats barbecue, or if you're making things with aluminum foil or aluminum pans, it's the heavy metal toxicity is what I'm coming back to. So heavy metal toxicity, how does this relate to insulin resistance? Type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. It's related. It's because heavy metals attached to certain heavy metals, toxicity in the body, attached to the insulin receptors in your body, so that when you eat food, of any type, even if it's not a super high carb food, you're having your blood sugars rising a bit. Your body knows it's about to need to dump insulin in order to regulate and bring it down. But the receptors, which are telling it how much insulin to release, are blocked with these heavy metals in there that are blocking them. So doing a heavy metal detox is its own discussion, and I can talk about that. Those are the ones I've done are pretty interesting. You can definitely tell you're doing a detox. So that's an extreme thing to do. I'm not saying not to do it, but this system, I feel, proved to me that I have some heavy metal toxicity, and it was because of the way that the system works, that it keeps your blood sugar stable. It lets you lets your body know, your mind and all of your organs and systems, don't freak out. She's about to eat food. You don't have to dump as much insulin as you think you do, because we're going to keep this blood sugar stable. So that is the key piece that so many of us are missing in the world today, is this attention to the heavy metal toxicity, because it comes through in your health and beauty products. If you've had a vaccine any time at all in your life or recently, then it's in the air, it's in the fish, which the way it gets in the air. So that's from petrochemical plants. It gets in the air and then it settles into the ocean and it gets fish. So we are exposed to heavy metals in so many places. And for some people, if you've got it in your fillings, in your mouth, even if actually, and I use ceramic knives, but if you cut with metal knives, depending on how sensitive you are, you may even notice the difference in taste in your food. And certainly if it's a wet, like a meat or something, it's coming off. These are microscopic amounts, but over a lifetime, it really builds up in the system and can really mess up.
So tie that back to the feel great system for me, and bring in how in your summation, how the feel great system is helping you with those issues that you just mentioned. Why is the feel great system so important with that?
So even though my diet, and as far as calories and fat grams and carbs, from an analysis standpoint on the outside, if you looked at my diet leading up to this last 10 months that I've been on Feel Great system, and pretty much throughout my life, like I said, I've been pretty healthy. It added up on paper for calories, for fat grams, for carbs, for a balance, for a good wide variety of vitamins and minerals and high vitality foods. Lots of, I wouldn't say as many, now I eat more raw foods because I feel more in control of my eating, and I've always known that raw foods are best for me. But I always have eaten a lot of fruits and vegetables and known the benefits of reducing toxic load from conventional produce, eating more organic and stuff. But the Feel Great system kept my blood sugar stable so that my body didn't over dump insulin. There's really no other explanation. When I really look at my life and how I was eating and how I'm now eating and able to eat even better, I've used this analogy with you before. If you're a person who cleans a house, if you clean houses, if you are a person that cleans houses for a living, and you go into a house that's fairly clean, it's challenging to prove an improvement on that clean house. I've talked to people that own cleaning companies. And so I feel like that's what the Feel Great system was dealing with me, even though there are countless people who have diabetes, Hashimoto's, all these other things, PCOS, high cholesterol, and all of the different pieces of the Feel Great system address and work wonderfully for them. And if you have 50 pounds or 100 pounds or to lose, but to come into a system like mine and be able to improve on something that was already pretty good. And so I'm looking at, again, the breakdown of what I'm eating. How much different is it than what I was eating before? Not very much, except now I'm eating a little bit less food because that's what I want to eat. I feel like it's this heavy metal piece. I really do, because there's nothing else that really makes sense. And of course, I'm sleeping better, so my endocrine system is working better. My hormones are producing more efficiently. I mean, these are all the things that it helps you do. So it gets you into all of those markers that are going to help you regain your health naturally. And there's another piece to this, that in studying this product, because I was so blown away by it, I'm like, what else is in this thing? So plant sterols. And I think I mentioned this to you a little bit. So with all these fruits and vegetables that I eat and high quality organic juices, I realized that, or I discovered what many know, and I was talking with some people, friends of mine that are in nursing, and they're doctors, and they already knew about this, naturopaths at least, that there are some components of plants and vegetables that it's not like a vitamin or a mineral or a calorie. It's called sterols or esters. It's essences. It's something you can't quite put your finger on, but it's very beneficial. And when they're combined in a certain way, they can magnify each other. And this product, as the balanced product, has those plant sterols in it, which is very good for cholesterol. It's good for the heart. And so it's one of those subtle but extremely effective things. And it's not like taking a pill, like, oh my gosh, wow, I feel so much better now. It's not like caffeine. It's something that gets into your system. And again, think about this with me. I'm eating more fruits and vegetables. I'm eating less food overall. I'm eating higher quality food, even from the quality that I was. Some higher quality organic food. So my inner system is raising in quality, if you will, and this high quality products coming in, and those plant esters and sterols are able to connect with my higher quality system, and there's some kind of synergy happening, and so I really feel like and it's worth mentioning, because you did say I was on this program before. I tried it 10 years ago in 2012, and I was so focused on the weight numbers that I gave up about 3.5 months in, and really wasn't doing it quite right, even though it's quite easy. It's not like it's a little bit of effort, a little bit, like, I mean, a little bit. Like, you have to have a bottle of water that you can put your product in and shake it up and drink it. But that's all the effort it takes. But if you don't do it, and in your mind you're thinking, this doesn't really work, which was my thought back then, you missed out. So I stopped way too soon. There's no telling where I could be, where the world could be with my gifts and talents this time in my life, had I had the capacity to use my energy. And I allowed it to be sucked away by inflammation and infection and whatever, and working for other people, because I didn't have the mental clarity or confidence in myself about being able to change something big. And that's what this has given me. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Well, so and I think I'm going to have you come on another time too, and because there's so much we can talk about. But there's a couple of things that you brought up that I really want to talk about on this particular taping. You talked about the gut, and you talked about it being ready for things to happen. And so where my mind went was the whole neuropsych thing. Most people don't realize that our guts are actually a thinking center, that our body is innately intelligent. It's not just a thing that goes around doing with whatever we give it. It knows, it thinks, it does on its own. And so when we're training it to be a certain way, that's what it expects, and that's how it reacts. And so for me, part of the system, and when we're talking about the gut, is that we're retraining the gut. We're retraining that whole thinking process that's in the gut through those neuropsytes and the communication between the brain gut. And that changes a lot for us as well. But the feel great system, in all of these components that you've talked about recently, I think that's part of the gold for me. These are not the scientific things that the feel great system says and the claims that but for me, what happens is, when my gut is healthier, when it is more intelligent and able to think because it has less inflammation, then I am able to not just enjoy my life more, like I walk with a lighter step now. I smile more. I have far less depression and anxiety, all of that stuff. But I also know that intuitively, I know more what my body wants because that inflammation isn't getting in the way. So, whether it be rest or whether it be exercise or water or a specific nutrient, I feel like my body gives me more clues now and I'm more able to hear the clues. But I want to talk about how intelligent the gut really is for just a minute before we're done today, because I think it's important and I think it's part of why the Feel Great system works so well, because it's setting us up to have that healthy space for our gut intelligence to function from.
Yes. So you're talking about, are you saying you wanted to talk more about the gut?
Well, a little bit more about, because I feel like a lot of people are not understanding that, when we think about thinking, we think about the brain, or most people do. You and I don't necessarily always think about the brain because we know there are really three main thinking centers in the body: the brain, the heart, and the gut. But because we're dealing with the feel great system and how the gut gives us intuition, how the gut talks to us about what it needs, what our body needs, and where we're going. And those links, when it's inflamed, it can't communicate properly. When it's less inflamed, that communication and it letting us know its needs and how to navigate in the world so that we can be the healthiest as possible. I think there's a big nugget that a lot of people just are not grasping because we're so focused on the weight loss. We're so focused on those other pieces that we're not understanding that these finer pieces of creating that environment of thinking in one of our three main thinking centers, which is the gut, is so important. So I do want to just touch on that just a little bit, if you can expand on not just the importance of the flora in the gut and the lessening of the inflammation, but how the gut does do some intuitive thinking for us. And there are neurocytes there that allow us to communicate. Our brain and our gut communicate back and forth a lot. And I don't think that people always understand that. So having that healthy gut and utilizing something like the Feel Great system is a reach that I'm willing to make. I think that's part of the reason why I have more clarity and a better attitude and I don't fall into anxiety and depression more. But it's also why I can hear my body's own intuition as to my needs more because my inflammation in my gut is down. And so, in essence, I can hear my gut and its intelligence. Am I being, I see the
Yeah.
clogs turning in your head.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of as a teacher, I always think of like analogies. And it's like if you're in a home and all the windows are open and there's all this noise coming in and the neighbors are smoking outside and there's a mariachi band downstairs and there's somebody's making barbecue. So you got these smells, you got these sounds, you got these scents, you got all this stuff and noise, and the air is hotter. But if you close those windows, then you're inside your home. And it's exactly what you're saying. I can more clearly hear and think and breathe and be who I am because if you've got leaky gut, which is what I truly believe that I had for all those years. We talked a little bit about the type of diet. I've tried other diets that told you what type of food to eat, like a keto diet says meat and cheese and things like this. And if you do that, I never want to recommend a diet for anyone, but what I love about this system is that you can combine it with whatever food that your body needs, because everybody's different. And when you can get quiet enough to pay attention to how your body feels, because your energy's not draining away by this loose, what you're eating is, when we say leaky gut, so people get a picture of this, what you're eating is, even if it's high quality food, it's coming into your gut, your body's trying to process it, and it's leaking out the side, or something is coming in from the side. So it's got both things. Gut permeability is a terrible place to be. And this I hadn't mentioned yet. I was spending a lot of money on a very high quality probiotic because it was the best thing that I could find that was dealing with, I thought, to as good a point as I could get with the gut. And since it was quite expensive, I've tried many other types of probiotics over the years. So there was another start and stop on something that was a waste of money. Other probiotics which really didn't give me the same, what I thought was a strong gut. Well, now, because of the Feel Great system, I don't take those very often anymore because my gut is actually truly strong now, and I can decide what I'm eating, and it has made it easier to go into almost all vegetarian. I still eat some fish, but I don't eat meat. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but if some outside entity or group or authority is telling you you've got to eat this, this, and this, and it's not what you either want to eat or enjoy eating or have ever thought about eating, just consider the fact that you're introducing, especially if it's meats, you're starting to introduce things into your system. You don't know what that animal ate or anything really often about it unless you're buying true organic and you know exactly what the source is. It's a lot of ifs there, because even if you buy meat and meat products, animal products at the farmer's market, it's funny what they call organic these days. That chicken sometimes can still be, free range eating on grass that's been treated with something, or they're getting part of their nutrients from a genetically modified feed. So there's a myriad of things that are going. This point that I'm making right here is why I'm not a big proponent of more animal products, because of the food chain. It's more like you don't really know what that chicken ate or what is in those eggs or what kind of, what the cow ate that the cheese came from and how it was processed. There's a lot of things that go into processing a food that comes from an animal. And so that's the only reason that I say you don't want to be pigeonholed into a situation where you feel like you've got to start eating more meat and cheese and that's it, just proteins. And even if you lose the weight, and I'll admit, I lost a couple of pounds on that sort of diet. And I never went super meat heavy, but that I didn't feel good about it. Who knows what kind of other things I was introducing into my system that I didn't really need to. And this, getting my gut strong, has made it possible for me to truly feel strong and centered, eating primarily vegetarian, but some fish every now and then. I still will eat cheese every now and then, but I also have control of what I choose to eat, so that if I don't feel like eating chips and queso, even though everybody else is eating it, I'm in control of my appetite now. My gut is not in and out of, I'm not thinking, I really want to have some of that. I don't feel deprived. When you just come from a less stressed, more centered decision-making position, it's so both freeing and, I don't even know the word for it. It's empowering. You feel empowered, like I'm in control of what I'm eating, but it's not it's control that I'm putting on it, not someone else telling me what to eat. Whereas some people think they want that. Give me a diet plan. And you tend to think, just tell me what to eat and I'll just eat that. I don't know how many of you out there, though, have tried that diet plan and you don't want that, or you don't have access to that, or you can't find that, or you don't feel like eating like that at the time. And sometimes that I don't feel like eating that is your own body telling you don't really need what's in that food. So this is a better way to go as far as honoring what your physical vessel needs. And it's different than me or Misha or anybody else, your friends, your family, your spouse, your trainer. They can't decide for you, and you're probably not going to find a book on the shelf that tells you exactly what you should eat. Everybody's body's a little different. You only get one, so it's worth the investment to figure out, and by investment, I mean your time and attention, yourself, to see what makes you feel better. And yeah, that's.
So I'm going to kind of wrap up here because you brought up a couple of good things, and I really want to get those things talked about. So you talked a lot about the cleanliness and GMOs and whatnot. And one of the reasons I really feel like we need the Feel Great system is, and I'm a carnivore and she's not. So we view those things a little differently, but I understand what you're saying. However, I know that even organic foods have been genetically modified, and even though they say they're organic, we don't always know what's on them, what's going into them, what's, they're a better option than some of the other foods, yes, but they're still not maybe as healthy an option as we'd like them to be. So with the two products with the Feel Great system, they go through a process that we're condensing these, we're taking the extracts, the constituents of this plant that are what our bodies need from the plant, so that you're not having to, like the tea has the constituents in this tea, you would have to drink 375 cups of the tea out of the regular leaf to get what's in this packet. But the final process of it is that both of these go through a process that's called hyperpurification. There's a lab in Sweden that is able to go through and take out anything, even though like this yerba mate is grown in a specific area in Argentina and handpicked and grown organically, it still gets environmental toxins on it. So the company is really, really adamant about giving us the best quality foods. And so they've hyper purified these, which just means we're taking out any incidental environmental toxins without stripping away the nutrients from the plant. So both of these are very well condensed, and that's why they're in these packets. And you just, like Patricia said at the beginning of this, just mix them with water and take them. But now what we're doing with the system is we're just adding back in to our life and our system things that have been stripped out because of today's modern food environment. The fibers that have been stripped out, the other plant sterols and whatnot, both. And we talked a bit about probiotics and whatnot. Part of the reason I feel like you're not having to take those probiotics anymore, these actually have probiotics and prebiotics in them, and plant sterols and all of those good things that Patricia's been talking about. And to me, that's part of the gold of the system. It's like I have people who, I just spoke with a lady today who said, well, I was taking all these vitamins and stuff. And, I take some omegas because I've had historically had a high blood pressure. But I don't take a bunch of vitamins and minerals anymore. And yet I feel better because actually if I think about that too, and we go back to the vitamins and minerals that most people are pumping into their bodies, there again, you don't know with most companies the processing that they've gone through, what they're putting in them, what they're taking out of them, what that is really in those vitamins and minerals. So my life has been simplified because I don't have to take handfuls and handfuls of pills. I mean, when I was powerlifting, I had a whole list of things that I took at different points in the day to try and get all the nutrients and constituents I needed in my body to be able to be at that level. And now I just do this. And it's amazing to me. And they take it very seriously about giving us the most clean product that they can give us. So, does anybody have any questions? We've been on for a little over half an hour, and we're probably going to hop off here. We'll be back another day. But does anybody have questions for myself or Patricia about the Feel Great system and or the gut before we head out, or where to purchase, what it does, any of that stuff?
I can't believe it's already been a half hour.
Yeah, it's been almost 35 minutes already. And unfortunately, as much as I love this conversation, I have some calls that I promised to make. So I've
Yeah.
got to get ready to head out here. But we'll be back later. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we appreciate you. You can follow. What's your TikTok name, Patricia?
Patricia.O'Brien, I believe.
Okay. And all of my contact information is in in the link in my bio, and the link to my YouTube channel, which this whole video will be posted on there if you want to go back and take a look at it later. So just go to that website through the links in my bio. Feel great for life, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Misha.
Let me end both of these.